Alright, what I mentioned in the last video, which is my rant on video game consoles. Uh, the reason I'm making this rant is so one of the main proprietors of a very well-known operating system, um, and many people use it, which we all know is Microsoft Windows. And this is mainly directed at Microsoft to give my personal opinion on their lack of, their lack of respect to the gaming community on the first ideas that came out. Some of these ideas I have heard that they've already changed, but the reason they thought of it in the first place and that it can all be put back after purchases have been made by the flick of a switch is the reason I will not be purchasing the Xbox One. Now, when I first started looking into some of the features, it looked great, and then it came out with a whole list of downsides. Downside 1 was that Xbox One had to be connected to the internet once every 24 hours. Now that's okay for all you people that have great internet service, but think about the people that are outside service areas where they can't even get internet, or their internet goes down constantly, or they only have dial-up, or so on and so forth. Let's say you have a boat and you want to take your Xbox One with you. It'll be good for the first few hours, but the next day you're not even going to be able to use it. And I'm not exactly sure if that one has been removed or not, but that is just sickening. And the fact that you guys have even come up with it is unbelievable. Going into other things, let's say the idea of making it impossible to use a used game. I would say a good 90% of my game collection is used. I admit it. But the problem is, I cannot afford to go out and buy these new games. These new games are going on the shelves for $60 a piece. I may be able to probably afford one or two a year just to put my pocket aside for paying my bills. Let alone the kid that's saving up all his allowance or taking the money from his paper route, which, mind you, I've done the paper route thing and got ripped off. And they're not going to be able to purchase these new games. They would go and they buy these new games, they take them home. They just spent their money on a piece of crap that they can't even use. And who's to blame? It's not the person that made the game. It's the person that made the console. It's the main proprietor, which is Microsoft, to come up with something like that. And moving away from that is one thing that absolutely ticked me off the most. They wanted to sell the Kinect with the Xbox because people are not really buying it. Fine, it's great to have a bundle. But the hard thing is that the Xbox One requires it in order to run. That is disgusting. They tell us that we can shut it off, but really, in all honesty, we know that they're looking into our houses. They're looking for what we're doing. Of course, they're saying, oh, we're just trying to get data to help you, but really, it's an invasion of privacy. You don't want to, let's say, you don't want to have to keep... Alright, I'll just go into a little bit of the embarrassing details. Some of you will probably walk downstairs in your underpants and just flick on the Xbox and start playing. Oh, there's power to the Xbox. Oh, Microsoft is recording you. And you don't even know it. They're recording everything you're saying, which means they're getting those conversations you don't want anyone to hear. These embarrassing things that, who knows, maybe one day they'll squeeze you for it. This is the kind of stuff that should stay at home and that you shouldn't I say, anybody using, of course, that maybe somebody can get the Xbox One, they'll cover up the lens. It still has a microphone. So what good does that do you? And I know that I have my PlayStation 3, my father has his Xbox 360, I have my Xbox, I have all my other consoles. I think there's a good 20 consoles in this house alone, which I could go over, which I've been meaning to do a video update on all the other ones, like my Dreamcast, so on and so forth. And yeah, I have an iToy for my PS3, but I can unplug it when I'm not using it. I barely have it plugged in anyway. The thing is that it is disgusting or revolting or an invasion of somebody's privacy to force them to have to hook up this camera with a microphone that Microsoft could easily have that recording on standby, and then when it gets that 24 hours that they're talking about, it syncs the data right back into their profiles, right back into their storage servers for them to pull up at any given time. And really, it's just sickening. Microsoft, I'm sorry to say, but you guys are cash cows. And I am honestly disgusted. Going into past the consoles, let's go into your Windows 8. It's a great operating system for people. They don't know how to use computers. They've never used one before. Let's say the elderly. Very easy to use. But mind you, you haven't made it very easy for us to go back to the way that other people are used to using it. Of course, you give us a button we can click that brings us back to our desktop. We no longer have the window button, which there is an app that you can download for it, but it's not supported. The least you can do is give us something, because the way I look at it and where I do a lot of business on the side outside of work, and I use Windows 7 at work, no higher. I've got Windows 7 upstairs. I made sure to purchase it for the new computer. I'm still not finished building. I made sure to purchase Windows 7 before it went off the shelves. It's not a very good business tool. I don't see how it is. I see that it's an absolute clutter. I see, if anything, it was built more for a tablet. Nothing more, nothing less. And for people who don't know, one of the other jobs I've done at the call center is tech support. I'm not allowed to mention for what company, but I'll mention that it involved Android phones, Windows phones, and the Google phones. But anywho, getting back into that, one thing that we're always mentioned to in training, which we always mention on the phone, that with our tablets and the cell phones, they're not computers. They'll never have the capacity of a computer. They'll never be able to have the capability of a computer whatsoever. It's a mobile device that, yeah, you can check your email, you can pay your bills with it. You can't save tons and tons of information on it like so many of us try to do today. And people have so many problems with it. And they call people like us in yelling and complaining because of their own mistakes. But really, in all honesty, your operating system was built for a tablet, no more, no less. It wasn't built with the respect of a computer, I'm sorry to say. And going back to the Xbox One on some of those things, even though that you've reversed them, you still have the access at the flick of a switch to bring it back. That disgusts me at the point that you even brought it up in the first place. So I'm sorry, I will not be purchasing the Xbox One. And I am starting to question more and more whether I am going to purchase another Microsoft product ever again. I know that the next operating system that I will be purchasing certainly will not be Windows 8. I think I may make the big switch over to Apple, and I'm sorry to say that because I'm not a big fan of Apple myself. I'm not a big user in it. Windows I know an awful lot about, but I think it's time to pull the plug on you guys. I'm sorry, you guys have just gotten greedy, and I don't see you helping the community